Okay, so in this video, it might not flow exactly with the last one, but in this video, I feel like I should start off with something and build the foundation to maybe make it a little bit more structurally sound or digestible and relatable. Because again, as humans, we have to be able to relate things or to our own personal experience. Otherwise, we check out or can't process. So I'm going to go back a little bit and start with what we now as a society have learned recently or accept to be finally true, even for hundreds and decades. That doesn't make sense. Hundreds of years, or even decades or generation. Or a century. We did not. We called like we didn't really fully grasp the idea of bloodlines or the powers that be. Rothschild, and again, I don't know if I'm even allowed to say these things. So again, I just want to put out a quick retainer because I think that's important. I'm not an expert in any way. I don't want to be sued for libel or anything, but I'm pretty sure that these things are free forum, free topics of discussion. I again am not here to slander anybody or discredit anybody. I'm just trying to explain my experience and my understanding or role in something. So, like the old bloodlines or powers that be, like Rothschilds, Vanderbilts, Carnegie, um, we also had did this thing where we now can connect every single president to back to like they're all related, right? Or let's go, the Illuminati, okay? So people, secret societies, right? Cults, covens, whatever. So a lot of the times people talk about it like, or like it's a fairy tale, but we also at the same thing, one of the things that we accept to be fact, even though we're not exactly accepting it to be fact, that these secret societies or gangs or whatever you want, powers that be, bloodlines, whatever, uh, dynasties or the corporation, we accept to be true is that, especially in the role of celebrities, that they have to have a sacrifice. Okay? So, hear me out. So, let's say, why would they have to have a sacrifice? Why would there be all this talk about a blood sacrifice to gain fame? Even artists like Bob Dylan say, and or movies, right? There's always a crossroad. There's some kind of deal with the devil or something like that to gain fame and power and wealth, right? You guys joke a lot about the reptilians or the gray men or the cryptoids or skinwalkers, okay? But again, that we talk about it like it's a joke or a fairy tale, but and again, or a conspiracy, but that's the quickest way to discredit it. But also, like the truth is a little bit more easier to digest sometimes, especially on hard topics when we talk about it in a joke form or like a science fictiony kind of way, right? So, and you talk about that radio show like or what was it like Midnight in the Desert or something like that, and the paranormal. So I'm smoking a cigarette. I don't know if we're allowed to smoke a cigarette on YouTube, but anywho, um, so again the way that we have to slow again with experiments, right? We have a control group and we have the variable, the experimental variable, right? So, or even with medication and things like this, we have a group that we only give this amount of medication to that may be the placebo a fake one, and then we give this group the medicine to see what the side effects are. We also have learned that, and again, this was for a long time, we did not accept that the government had been performing experiments on groups of people without consent, because we are trusted the government to be in the best interest of the people. However, we've learned with Puerto Rico, with Canada, with even America, with so many, the heart attack gun, CIA operations, false flag missions, the Boston Tea Party. Most people somehow forgot that the World Trade Center, the Twin Towers, had fallen before 9/11. We also forget to talk about how, like, diamonds and rubies and gold doesn't, and steel, they don't, it melts, or there were these things that were buried beneath ground, and they're into this certain type of steel that was meant to withstand these catastrophic events like earthquakes, fire, whatever. But yet somehow, after we cleaned up all the rubble and all the bodies, which, by the way, they're still finding pieces of the catastrophe from 9/11 in certain parts of the city, and anywho, that where was all the money? That, because again, that was a vault just underneath that all these other countries, and we coined this term domestic terrorism, and that everybody didn't really realize too that Bush was basically trying to finish his daddy's legacy and his daddy's fights, or that a lot of people blame Bush and Obama for the balloon popping with the real estate, with bank bailouts, because all of a sudden, but they don't realize too that, like, Clinton had started giving all these, making banks give money to people who was maybe not exactly before prime candidates for loans and for businesses or real estate, and then all of a sudden what happened, like, there was an economic collapse. But again, they also need to pretend that there's these huge issues, be it economic or security. Like, people forget that, or you touched base one time, AJ and Hecklefish, about the Titanic, okay, and that most people didn't realize that the Titanic was like an insurance scheme and an organized hit, because the certain people that were meant to be on that ship did not get on that ship, and there was also a sister ship that was older, and blah, 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 blah. All this stuff that you already know about, and I guess people, if they want to know about it, do their own research, because that's a big thing too. Everybody wants to talk about stuff, but nobody knows about stuff or will take the time to look into it. We just kind of, like, either stand up on a soapbox and let it blah, 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 follow me because I'm right, or we listen to the government or to the news and the media, which have been bought out and in control of certain people and families that want to turn the narrative a certain way. And again, America, we are so self-consumed and self-inflated that even when we talk about these things like war, or like right now there's things in Gaza, the Iran things going on in Egypt, things going on in Gaza, things going on with Russia. Like, we talk about these things, or we hear about these things, but we don't really take them too serious. Like, or Iraq, Afghanistan. We talk about these things, we know about these things, but yet it never really hits us. Because we're so far removed, and even it wasn't even until, and again, just like with, like, the Civil War, right? People believe that that was all about slavery, and yet it was really about unionizing the money system. But the whole reason that we became America was because we didn't want to be a part of the crown and pay taxes without representation. We didn't want to be, because basically we were indentured servants, or sharecroppers, if you will, because again, everything had to go, a piece of it went to the crown. And again, we think that America's free, but yet if you look into something that just happened with Disney, we can easily see that we are still part and we're still owned basically by England and the crown, because Disney used some loophole about their land, because you can't like do certain shit to certain kingdoms, or like the idea of being a sovereign citizen. The idea behind a sovereignty is no other kingdom or king can infringe upon another sovereign land. So as a sovereign land, you are a kingdom, you are a bordered, controlled area and people, when in fact we are all supposed to be sovereign citizens, because we are supposed to be free. And the laws and stipulations are meant to protect us, not control us or punish us. It is meant to control and punish the corporations and tyrannical governments. The same idea with the churches. We have all these things all mixed up. And again, the idea behind them is pure and beautiful. And I'm not going to go on to a rant exactly this video, but I just wanted to go and touch base on the bloodlines, the powers that be, and the Illuminati a bit, because that goes back to the magic and the misconstrued idea of science, magic, and how the illusion of the simulation has been operating. And again, it's all in plain sight, and right now too. So because of going public, or these big corporations going public, how do they make more money? How do they expand? There's a YouTube group that's called A More Pure Union. I suggest you look into that. Another big thing in the media that is important, people should look into, is Big Law. And again, people either love or hate Trump, just the same way that people loved or hated Obama. People loved or hated Bush 1 and 2. People loved or hated Reagan, Nixon, even FDR. People like almost idolized and worshipped him, but not realizing too that the welfare system, or the idea of the Protestant work ethic and Catholic suffering, so they trapped us to be in a prison, because we're the only species that pays to survive. And money only has value because we put the value on it, right? That's how the economic idea construct worked. Before, it used to be just either barter and trade or gold and silver. A big thing too that they're pretending, and they're trying to keep us blinded and looking over here while we forget and miss what's over here, is because, and we don't realize too that we as America, everything is imported. Everything is imported too, because why? Because we are selfish, lazy ducks. We get all our oil from outside resources, not realizing that we have oil reserves right here off the coast and in our land. We had the Industrial Revolution, which is how America was built and expanded, the westernization of America, which is now we've also tried to westernize the rest of the world by saying, you guys are doing it wrong. We get into people's emotions and pull on our heartstrings by saying we have to go liberate these oppressed and uneducated third world countries, but really we are going to siphon their natural resources. And they, back to 9/11 too, they kept tricking us, or this thing, Kony 2012. It was a big thing. And again, I got behind these things because I am a bleeding heart too. When I'm from New York, okay, too, and I moved down south, and people don't realize that the North and South are still very much at war, and this whole idea behind the American flag and the Confederate flag is still a huge, huge issue. But people don't realize that it's heritage, not hate, and that everybody has a right to embrace their heritage. And that flag represents a serious, important time, and it was brother versus brother. Like, people of all colors and all shades chose to fight for each side. And again, there was drafts too, because people were forced to get behind something. People also don't like to talk about the last people to free their slaves were actually Native Americans. People don't for a minute even consider the fact that Native Americans had slaves. But yet there was, I'm not sure if it's somewhere in Texas, but it very much was somewhere here in America. There was a group of people in town or city or state, however you wish to call it. Again, I'm not an expert on these things. Go look into them for yourself. But there was a huge amount of time that went by that slavery had been over, that this area had no idea. Even though black people were telling these people that live there, because again, why would they listen to white people? White people were killing them and for a lot of years. So they were distrusting, and again, the Jim Crow laws separating, the segregation, all this shit had happened. So if a white person came up and was like, "You're free, homie, you're free," you'd be like, first of all, it's illegal to talk to you, right? Yeah, they have to look at their feet, or yes or no, sir, this or that, or be killed or beaten or whatever have you. But then when black people were telling black people, "Bro, slavery's over, you're free," they still didn't trust it because it didn't make sense to them. They were in such a state that they lived life a certain way, and again, out of fear or just even like habits, a way of living. I know people down south that still, and literally, it's been like what, 200 years almost since it was like over, or 100 and something. I don't even know. I'm not an expert, like I said, and it's like probably 3 o'clock in the morning at this point. But anyway, I know a family of white people who have their original like plantation house in the South, and even though they sold off the rest of their land, so they're not a plantation anymore, but they still have the original house. But the family, like generations later, it's like third or fourth, fifth generation, their slaves, family members, now great-great-grandchildren, still clean the house and live in a side house on the same property of the white folks that they were enslaved by all these years later. And again, they get paid. They have their own house. They're their own space. They consider each other family. But again, they're also employees. Like, they pay them to clean their house, to do the yard work, to babysit the kids and raise them up. All this other stuff. They don't go to the same churches. They have their own. So it's again still very much separate, but it's a little bit. And again, they do it by choice. It's the familiarity. It's I don't know how you want to look at it, but again, it just shows like how old habits die hard. And again, like we talk about, we forget that America was built on immigration. Like technically, none of us were from here, and there's still all this hate. We have programmed generational beef and trauma, even in our DNA. Like a lot of our responses from our bodies are anxiety or fears. And even though we know that there's not dinosaurs or wild animals out there going to kill us, or we know that we're free to walk in certain places or to act a certain way or speak a certain way, we're very much not free to do these things safely. There's still very much the Aryan Brotherhood, the cartels. There's still very much gangs, police gangs. There's still very much sexism, gender. Well, that's the same thing, but anyways, even like people don't talk about like how Black Lives Matter was run by white lesbians. So the math don't math on a lot of things, but yet we don't really even realize. A lot of the news shows everything's corrupted. There's corrupted. People do anything for fame or money, or even under duress. Like they sign these insane contracts with these record labels, movie deals, modeling contracts, even jobs, like to be CEOs, you have to, anything you do anymore too, you have to sign NDAs, you have to do this, and you're binded via ink or blood, because again, the devil is very much alive, and he is gunning for it. So, too, there's illusions and magic and sciences that we can make, change our outside look, or change where our consciousness is. So I'm going to real quick, because we're at the 20-minute mark, so I'm going to ramble really, really fast about the idea of consciousness, because it has to do too with the timeline jumping and the magic thing. So we know that like our government and scientists have been able to take things like certain plants, we can make them glow, or test air and respond to chemicals or stimulation. So in war times we can make them bioluminescent, or if the air is tainted or aerosol, we know that we have the ability for biological warfare. Or COVID was just more so a social, there's patented, like the Gates had patents on what the response was going to be for the government, the education, the medical, the military thing, again, to see how the public could react. Because it's like the ant and the grasshopper. Like, again, they need to keep us thinking we're free, but we're really more slaved than ever to these secret societies, these churches, and these government entities. So I guess I'll leave that there, because now I'm going to go over here, and I don't really know. So that's way to transition into some of the stuff that I'm trying to say, because, again, you have to kind of start at the beginning. And, again, the beginning is a little bit even, it sounds like a science fiction book, and it's because, too, I am just a regular person who has no monetary gain. I have no government clearance or degree in anything. All I'm speaking from is logic and personal experience or public records. So you can go and fact check anything that I'm saying for yourself. And even some of the things that are available to the public, it's still hard to really believe it. Like the Monroe Institute and psychics, or astral projection, or the CIA and the FBI, or the local governments doing experiments on people. We have a way of just like thinking that it's not possible, because again, until it happens to you, you don't really believe it. It just sounds like a movie or entertainment. But we are very much in the matrix, and we are very much in a simulation, and the reason that they are able to do this is through technology and magic. And I absolutely mean magic, like witches, warlocks. There's blood sacrifices, just like we talk about the humiliation rituals in celebrities, initiation and ascension into becoming more and more popular, and blah, blah, blah. And that's going to build on, yeah, I had to talk about this stuff a little bit so that I can get to the point of the initial reason for this thing with the CIA, children, time jumping things, and the technology, and the fact that there's two sides or multiple sides. So like this country has the ability to have this technology as well, and this government does too, and these people too, the rich people, and now the poor people and the little people down below don't really have experience or exposure to these things outside of entertainment ways. And again, most people that do have exposure to these things are bound by contracts or NDAs and things like that. So, and I'm sure even just like you, AJ, or Joe Rogan, you have bosses and you have regulations and stipulations, because then your videos won't be monetized, or you're going to be blacklisted, nobody's going to want to work with you, you're going to lose this, this, and this, and this, or you're going to literally put yourself in danger. So some of the stuff I'm saying sounds crazy, or it's probably going to put like a fucking big red flag on my head. But again, I in no way want fame, clout, or monetary reward for this, and I am not honestly afraid of being the whistleblower for some of this shit, because again, the biggest thing too I want to point out is that God can get you through anything. I'm not even saying like as a Bible thumping, like trying to push religion down your throat. I'm trying to tell you that how to save your life or protect you for when you are in a situation, be it by government, be it by witches, warlocks, or the devil himself, excuse my language. No contract is, or whether it's blood, ink, or especially under duress, because these higher ups, these entities, whether it's a corporation, a government, the Satan, they will absolutely use your mind and your heart, your family, your friends, your finances, your reputation, and again, threaten your family or your own life and security but I don't, not that I don't care about my family and friends, but again, I just have me, and again, my family that's a whole other situation. But anyway, I know that I'm divinely protected by God, and I know that I've been through 1,000 deaths, and as crazy as that sounds, I am not afraid to go through 1,000 more if it means to help people see the big picture in a way that is going to protect them from going through some of the things I went through, be them death, rape, robbery, government experiment, chemical exposure, sacrificing from cults, covens, churches, friends, families, governments, and I guess we'll do that in a later video because we're coming up on the half-hour mark, and it sounds bananas in pajamas, and I hope that you're checking with me so far, or tracking on to what I'm saying, but again, even if one person listens at all a little bit, I know that I'll rest easier. And again, not because I can't handle keeping it all in, because there's so much I've kept in for so long, but again, the difference between being educated and being wise is the ability to share the knowledge to help others, right? So